Hi, this is Dr. Kevin Tharp. Today we are going to start delving into the elements that we need to have within our data in order to allow us to do analytics. Carrying on from my normal beginning of the year conversations about music, we're going to use music as a tool that generates data that will let us begin to visualize some of that. What I'm going to do is I am going to turn to Spotify. It is a free service, or it can be free. You can pay for it, of course. Um, but it allows you to listen to music, streaming music on the internet. One of the things that it allows you to do is to create playlists. And when you create playlists, it gathers data. Every time you play a song from there, it marks it, but it also gathers information about the song. And that's the information that we are going to use today. So before we get into that, what we want to do is let's take a look at a Excel spreadsheet, and I'll show you how to get your Spotify music into a spreadsheet a little later on. But what we've got here, there's two keywords that we need to talk about at the beginning of talking about analytics. One of them is dimension, and the other one is metrics, or some people call it measures. When you're using the software that we're going to be using today, uses the term measures rather than metrics, but it's the same thing. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working with software called Tableau, and this is free for you to access, and I'll give you the links when it's time to do that. But let's work with the core concepts here. We're going to start with data, and so the data that we're going to use is going to be pulled from the playlist. So we'll pull down data from 3 different playlists, and then what we're going to do is we're going to decide which dimension or which item that can be measured do we want to look at. Going back to the spreadsheet, you've seen spreadsheets before. Generally speaking, a metric is something that shows up in a row, a dimension shows up in a row, and a metric shows up in a column. So there's a series of different, for each of these represents a song that happens to be in a particular running playlist here. So we can look at the number of that in the playlist, the title of the song, the artist, the release date, beats per minute, energy, and then some other measurements that Spotify uses. And so these are the areas that we can measure. So a dimension is a particular thing that we can measure. In this case, it is item number 1 on the list. The title is Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue, 2009, 89 beats per minute. I'm not exactly sure what the 98 energy means, but it's a metric that they have developed that's unique to Spotify, and that's one of the ones that we're going to look at today. But what we want to do is we're going to take that energy, and I want to look at the energy as it compares to this. So what we have to do is we have to shift this data so that we can turn energy into a metric, and then compare all our energy into a dimension and look at all the different metrics for the different songs. So that's what we're going to do in this exercise today. And when it comes up, it's going to look something like this. So what we're going to do is for our source of data, we're going to have spreadsheets that we will pull data from Spotify. We're going to look at the dimensions. We're going to look at the measures, how to move it from being a measure to a dimension, because that's what we've done with the energy. We'll go into that. And then we're going to look at the visualization of that across the 3 different sources that we have. And so what you'll end up with is a report that looks something like this, which compares the energy for the number of songs with that energy measurement from each of the separate spreadsheets that we're going to use. And so that's where we're going to be going with this, and in the next video I will show you how to do that.